Hey, welcome back to Anti-Social Studies. I'm Emily Glankler, and today I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I'm going to tell you the only thing that you need to be able to do to answer any historical question in writing. And I'm talking about anything. We're going to talk about AP classes today, A.P.E, AP Euro, AP World, but this applies to literally any history writing you're ever going to have to do. First, I just want to mention that on this channel, I have done tons of deep dive videos on how to get certain rubric points in the writing, for example, how to get contextualization, what is a thesis statement. I've even written an SAQ and a DBQ live on this channel, so you can go watch those to see in depth like how this practice works. For today, I want to talk about how you can simplify every question you might get asked and every potential written response you might have to give into really just one acronym. Okay, so in theory, like on the AP exam, there's 3 different types of free response questions. They're going to give you SAQs, which is where you get some sort of stimulus or just kind of a general topic, and then 3 little mini questions underneath that you have to answer. Then you're going to move on to the LEQ, where you pick one prompt out of 3 options, and then ideally you're writing like a 4 or 5 paragraph kind of standard essay where you have multiple arguments that are supported by evidence you just bring. Then, Q Mass Panic, you have the DBQ, which is essentially a regular essay, but with all these extra layers on top of it, where you are given 7 documents that you have to wrangle and put into conversation with each other and analyze for point of view, yada, yada, yada. Even then, on top of those 3 different types of writing questions, they might be asking you questions in a lot of different ways. Sometimes they ask you to identify and explain. Sometimes it's describe. Sometimes it's evaluate the extent to which. And they might be asking you to look through the lens of like comparison or causation or change over time. It's really overwhelming unless you just make it not. So let's talk about the 2 steps that you need to make in your brain to simplify all historical writing. Step 1 is that no matter what the question is asking, you should view it as an argumentative question. Meaning, they want to know what is your assertion, what is your argument about a historical development. That's it. Let's look at this through the example of maybe a teacher is asking you, has just taught about the causes of World War II. In a factual response, they might just say, hey, just identify one cause of World War II. One step up, it might be more descriptive. Just summarize the various causes of World War II that we just went over in class. Step 3 is going to be a little bit more of an analysis, evaluate maybe the relative importance of different causes. And now they're asking you to kind of rank them and justify your ranking. Then if we got a full-on AP style question, it might be something like, evaluate the extent to which nationalism, for example, caused World War II. Now you're having to either agree with or refute that assertion. The first step to simplifying all of this is just to see all of those different types of questions as just an argumentative question. It's just that the earlier ones, for example, just identify one cause, is just a really simplistic argument you're making. You're still making some assertion. You're saying one cause of World War II was German aggression. It's still an argument. It feels a little silly because we all just kind of agree that that was a cause, right? But you're still having to play the role of a historian and assert something. And now really the question becomes just how much evidence and how much analysis and explanation do you have to give for the person reading to go, yeah, okay, cool, I believe that, and we move on. That's where we get to step 2. So now that we can view any historical question through the lens of argumentation, well, all historical arguments can essentially be approached in the same way. You just have to do 3 things. You have to answer the question, you have to prove your answer with evidence, and then you have to explain all of it in a way that makes sense to someone else's brain. APE. Now, you might also see and hear other acronyms. Some teachers use ACE. Answer, cite a specific piece of evidence, and then explain it. Some other teachers use T. Thesis or topic sentence, evidence, analysis. Whatever it is, it's essentially the same 3 components every single time. Answer the question, prove it, explain it. So let's talk a little bit more about what we mean by, for example, answer. If you're supposed to answer the question, you need to give a clear answer that is asserting something. It has to be historically reasonable, right? There's not necessarily always just one correct answer, but it has to be something that can be defended by historical fact. This is where I would feel free to just reword the prompt and then just sort of insert your answer. One cause of World War II was German aggression. Prove it means you need to back up whatever answer you gave, even if it seems really obvious, even if you're like, we all agree with this, right? We all kind of know that this was a cause of World War II. You still have to prove it. And within your evidence, I always suggest that I would include enough information that the reader, no matter who they are, knows that you know what you're talking about. That means you want to include as much as you can of the who, what, when, where. So to prove that one cause of World War II was German aggression, you might want to talk about the invasion of Poland. For example, England declared war on Germany beginning World War II after Germany invaded Poland in 1939. The last step is to explain. This is your analysis. This is where you are making it very clear and you're tying up all these loose ends that whatever piece of evidence you cited, you gave, you are now explaining and making it very clear how it connects back to the prompt you were just asked. This is where I might add in a little more information. I might say, in previous years, Germany had shown aggression, for example, in Czechoslovakia and Austria, to which England and France had given them warnings, saying that they were not to violate other neutral territories. So, when Germany then invaded Poland, violating its neutrality, England was forced to declare war and begin what would become World War II. So with this general acronym in mind, let's go back and look at the 3 different types of writing questions the AP exam might ask you. The SAQ, it's very obvious. That's what we just did, right? The SAQ for each mini question, if they're asking you just to identify one cause of World War II, then all you really have to do is the A and the P, answer and prove. One cause of World War II was German aggression, for example, when they invaded Poland in 1939, causing England to declare war. Boom. Now if they add identify and explain or describe or really any other verb, you just add in the E. You add in your one more sentence or two of explanation, making it very clear to the reader that you can explain, you understand the causation of why the invasion of Poland led to this world war. So A.P.E, answer, prove, explain, makes perfect sense for the SAQ. And in fact, a lot of you might have already learned this acronym for how to answer a short answer question. But you're wondering, how does this apply to the longer essays that we're going to have to write? What I'm going to tell you is it's the same. The only difference is that in an LEQ and a DBQ, you're giving more proof and more explanation. Think about it. What do you need to do at the core? We're oversimplifying here, right? If you're given an LEQ or a DBQ, what do you have to do? Well, you have to answer the prompt with a clear thesis. You have to prove your thesis with evidence that's going to be through multiple body paragraphs. And throughout those body paragraphs, you have to explain how the evidence you're giving and the different factors come together to respond to the prompt you've been asked. A.P.E, answer, prove, explain. Again, this acronym can just be stretched and shrunk to fit the needs of whatever writing prompt you're given. So if it's a very short and simplistic SAQ, identify one example, great, just answer, prove, you're done, move on. If it's a long DBQ, again, your answer is still going to be found in your introduction. It's going to be your thesis statement. But your proof and your explanation, you're going to have multiple pieces of proof. Those are your documents and potentially your additional evidence and multiple explanations. And so an essay might look like you answer it in the introduction and then prove and explain and prove and explain and prove and explain in multiple body paragraphs. But at the core, you're still doing the same thing. You're just doing it more. The point is, if you can write a 4 or 5 sentence answer to an SAQ where you answer, prove, and explain, then you can write any length of historical writing. What you've just done that would maybe on the test be an SAQ just becomes one body paragraph of a bigger essay. Then, this is a little spoiler for if you're going to go on and take college level history courses like I did, right? If you know how to write a 4 or 5 paragraph essay, you also know how to write a 25-page essay or even a multi-100-page book. Even the most advanced, the most complex historical works are still at their core answering, proving, and explaining. It might just be that their proof and their explanation is now in multiple chapters as opposed to a few sentences like we're doing in some of these answers. Is this oversimplified? Well, yeah, of course it is. It's like a, 12-minute YouTube video. And of course that writing can and should be more complicated than this, right? But at its core, all historical writing can be simplified down to this just argumentation. Give me a reasonable answer, support it with specific proof, and then a clear explanation. And you should start there because you can always add on to this. But really, there's no point to add complex analysis, to add all these bells and whistles if you don't have the core answer, proof, explanation. The rest of it's sort of meaningless if you don't have that building block. Try this out in your classes. Try this on your next writing assignment. Let me know how it goes in the comments. As always, please like this video and subscribe. Please share it with all your friends and your favorite teachers. Let me know in the comments what other videos you'd love to see from me so I can help you throughout all of your history classes.